Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Liz and this is Let's Get Lizicle, where we do everything card making. Today I'm just gonna pop in and do like a little bit of a live at the beginning here, just to like walk through what we're going to be doing, and then I'll switch over to a voiceover. I find that sometimes when I speed up the videos and do the voiceover, like I'm missing some things. So I just wanted to do it this way for today and see how that goes. But today we're gonna be making a martini themed birthday card for a friend of mine. I always do her either food or drink themed cards because she's a foodie. So today I'm going to be making an espresso martini using the Spellbinders Olive Martini set. I am going to use the bow from the Christmas Cocktails add-on set as well. And I cut Honeybee's A2 deckled edge dies for the background because I love the look of that. So I've done all my die cutting off screen. I also made an separate little martini glass. I'm not going to be doing the one today with the hollow paper on the glass itself. We're going to be doing it on the bow instead, but I thought I would save this one for either a Christmas or New Year's themed card maybe. I just wanted to see how it looked, how it got put together, because I noticed that these parts weren't kind of like fitting in here, and then I realized you actually have to back it like somewhat to the edge of the glass itself. So it is like a little bit thicker in this area where there's like 3 layers plus the glass on top of that. So I did add a second layer to the back just to help even it out a little bit. And I might do it a little bit differently for this card, and I will walk through that. So for the bow, I cut some holographic paper from scrapbook.com. For this bow, I did the more chunky one. For the glass that I did for this other one, I did like a finer glitter. And I cut it in the gray that I used for the glass as well, just because it is more like paper. So I just wanted to make it a little bit thicker. So there's 2 layers of all of those. This is going to be our background. I'm going to ink blend the edges just to give it a little bit of a vignette as well. I also added some vellum to the back, and I thought that it would be good, you know, just to give it a little bit of like that frosted glass look. Not that martini glasses are usually frosted, but you know, whatever. And then this is the layer that gets cut out of here, and then when I was lining them up, I noticed that it was a little bit like differently shaped, so you can't really insert this one in here without it leaving a gap, which is why I wanted to make one off screen, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be doing this. So if you do put it in there, it is a little bit away from the edges. It might be okay, but once you start layering like this foam layer, I guess, from the martini, will overlap your glass if you try to inset it, and I don't want that to happen. So probably just going to do the same way I did the other one, but there's 3 layers to this. You get like the espresso, and then you have like the foamy layer, and then the top of the foamy layer. And then it comes with like little espresso beans or coffee beans. And I cut a couple of the sprigs. I don't know what plant this is from, but I'm just gonna like add them in the background here just for a little bit of extra. I think I still have to go grab a sentiment, and it's just gonna be like a happy birthday one. So we can start assembling this card, and I'll move over to the voiceover. Okay, so how did we feel about that intro? Let me know if that's helpful at all. If not, I can just go back to the way we were doing things. But I'm just going to talk through the card now. And like I said, we're going to be doing some ink blending. I believe this is the Noble Fur cardstock from Lawn Fawn in 80 pound. And I'm ink blending Pine from Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Ink Line, just to give it a bit of a darker edge and a little bit of interest, just so that it adds something to it, so it's not so flat. I didn't ink blend any of the other die cutting. Usually I do add some kind of coloring with markers or inks when I'm die cutting, just to give it a little bit of interest. But you don't always have to. Like, I've seen card makers make cards with just die cut cardstocks and it looks great. I like to add a little bit extra to it, so again, like today we're not doing that, but I did add it to the background just to like help it pop. It does, because it's a vignette, kind of goes around the image, so it helps make it stand out a little bit more because it's lighter towards the center where the glass is going to be, and then it's darker around the outside. But right now I forgot to add my second layer to the glass, which I cut a full second one, and then I'm just trimming it to where I need to. This one I didn't cut it quite short enough. You need it just past that like bottom half of the top opening, and then just underneath the triangular section there, if you want to add just a little bit of a backer. And then I'm going to add the vellum. I did mess up on this, which you'll see here in a bit, and I left it in just so you see how I fixed it, and we'll have to see how we do this again going forward if I want to continue doing it this way. When I went to glue it onto the card, it kind of like squeezed out the glue and it made it look really messy, so I ended up taking off the vellum. But again, you'll see that here in a bit. Right now I'm just adding that holographic glitter paper to the gray cardstock that I cut out just to give it a little bit more stability, because I'm not going to be attaching this fully to the card. I'm just going to attach it in like 5 places on the bow, and I wanted a little bit more stability to it so that it didn't rip when it was like being taken in and out of the envelope or handling in any sense. So we're just adding a little bit of extra there for that. And it's a very pretty bow. I love the way this bow looks. I'll probably end up using it on some other projects at some point. I also grabbed a bunch of like birthday stamp sets. I had this one here from Hero Arts, one from CZ Design at Simon Says Stamp, and then I brought out my own. I end up using mine not because obviously I want to promote my own brand, but it did have like the smallest little scripty happy birthday to it, and I didn't want to take too much of the space up, so I end up using that one. I'm adding a couple of these sprigs. I'm not sure what they are. I'm not a drink aficionado when it comes to like martinis and stuff. Martinis are not my favorite. I don't mind an espresso martini myself, but yeah, this, I think it's like rosemary or something, maybe. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But here I am. You're gonna see where I mess up here. There's way too much glue on this. It doesn't look like a lot, but once you set it down, it does squeeze out. If I had just like left it like this with very little pressure, it might have been okay, but I end up kind of like pressing it down here, and then you can just see how the glue like seeps through that vellum, and I did not want that to show. If I actually wanted to, I probably could have added double-sided tape to the entire back of the vellum section, now that I think about it. So maybe I'll do that for the next one, and I'll show you what I do for that. But for like the time being, I didn't want to have to redo all of this work, because I would probably just have to restart the whole card again, and it wasn't that much damage to the card base. There was a little bit there at the top rim, but I end up using my adhesive eraser plus adding in some, shadow layer with some marker here in a bit, which again you'll see in a second. But I'm just trying to get as much glue off of there as possible. It's matte Mod Podge is what's in this glue bottle right now. I'm having struggles with all my glue bottles because they seem to clog a lot, and I decided to just go back to the more liquidy glue for the moment. I think I'm just going to end up buying another Barely Art glue with the needle and the skinny tip to it eventually, but right now I'm just using, like I said, my matte Mod Podge, which is what I used to use for adhesive all the time. The only reason I stopped using it because it is a little bit too liquidy, and when you're using inks like Distress Oxides or this time it's Positively Saturated inks, if it's too liquidy and the moisture kind of soaks through the surface, it does affect your ink blending. So Yes, I have the Simon's Positively Saturated inks. They are water reactive inks, but you don't necessarily need to use them in that sense. So sometimes it will seep through the cardstock and then kind of like add splotches to it. So I went to a thicker glue for that reason. I had that problem with the Distress Oxide inks. I glued something to a card once and I just kind of like scribbled the glue on the back of the image, and I had stamped it in the Distress Oxide, but then once the card had dried, you could like see the squiggles through the front because it added moisture to that, and then the ink reacted to it, which is why, again, I went with a thicker glue. But I was at one point, when I first started card making, only using liquid matte Mod Podge as my glue because it's matte. It works great as glue, actually, and it's, you know, you get like a big jar of it for like $10, so it's very like economical, and like you just fill up your glue bottles with it. I wouldn't use anything with a thick nozzle on it, which is why I'm using the skinny one, but it flows out a little bit better. But anyway, that is my glue struggles for the moment. I end up grabbing the woodsy color because that's the most brown color I have from this collection. I do want to get, there's a more traditional reds and browns ink cube sets out now that I want to get, and I'll get that if I see anything from the Stamp Temper collection that I like. Usually wait for Mama Elephant's release and see what they have out. Last year they had the capybaras, which I'm not really into that trend, so I didn't end up getting those. But if they have anything fun this year, or if I see anything else from another brand that I collect, then I'll grab that and then add the ink cubes to those later. But I just use the woodsy color, which is kind of like a grayish brown, and it kind of went with like the martini aspect. And I used, like I said, the little happy birthday scripty font from my birthday balloon stamp set. And I'll be sure to link all the products in the description down below. As usual, like sometimes I don't, you know, include every single tool that I use, but if there is anything in the description that you don't see that you would like to know where I got it from, just, you know, comment on the video and let me know, and I will send you the link. Something like these, like glue dots and stuff like that, I usually don't include, but I got those on Amazon, so just FYI, that's where those are from. And I find them very useful for smaller things like this. Sometimes I still have to cut them in half for smaller areas, but they're very easy to use, and I just use my picker tool to pick them up. I thought this card needed a little bit more bling to it, so I'm adding these quote-unquote clear gems. They are somewhat clear, but they're a little bit yellow now. I find that a lot of like clear embellishments turn yellow over time. I did buy a few packages of these, so I usually use them up on like colored card bases like this where the tone is somewhat similar, so because it's like slightly yellow and it's going on green, you're not really going to notice. So that's when I tend to use those. If these are going on a white card base, I do not use these, just because they are a little bit on the yellow side. I have other ones that I have that are actually like white clear, and we'll use those in those situations. I think my other ones though are potentially iridescent, so it has like a little bit of different shimmer to it. But anyway, that's our card for today, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below and let me know your thoughts. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe because I'd love to have you here, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future content. And until next time, thanks guys, bye.